So I'm going to record a automatic water change. I have my Apex programmed that when it hits 12:40 on Saturday, the water drain pump will come on and the skimmer will turn off. And so if you watch what's happening here, this is the water drain pump. It's a tube that goes into, you can see the water coming out. That drain feeds into the main drain of the house. So right now, the return section of my refugium, it is draining water, and it's going to drain water for 5 minutes. At the same time, the protein skimmer is programmed to turn off. And the reason for this is that it utilizes a lot of water, so if I turn it off, it raises the water level in the return section and allows me to drain more water without interfering with the return pump. So it should remain off during the whole process. This process will take 6 minutes and 45 seconds approximately. 5 minutes of that is to drain the water, and the other minute 45 is for the tank in the laundry room where I have the salt water storage to pump that water into the refugium. And so the drain lines go through the crawl space. It's actually hooked into the same return as the chiller, so it will feed the water directly from the laundry room through the crawl space in the basement and directly into that middle section of the refugium, and will fill the tank back up with fresh salt water. So all that is going on. I also have backups programmed. I'll bend back down and show you. There are lots of floats in here, and those two bottom floats tell me when the water's low. So if the bottom one triggers and it stays triggered for several minutes, it will turn off the return pump, which you can barely see right there. That return pump gives water to the main tank, and I don't want to burn it out by accidentally draining out this. So if that water level low trigger happens, then after so many minutes, no matter what the programming is, it will turn off the pump so it doesn't pump out more water, and will turn off the return pump, which will raise the water level and protect the aquarium from burning up the pump and killing my fish and coral. So if you look up here, the tank, the lights are only on the actinic lights right now, and I will show you while this is going on. You can see my 3-sided tank. Everything looks wonderful. My clowns have found their anemones that they want to host and love. And I'll take you on a tour back through this hallway into this back laundry room are the other components of my aquarium. One is the chiller that I mentioned, and those hoses go through the crawl space to bring the aquarium water here, chill it if necessary, and return it. You also have this bottom tank, which is my saltwater holding tank, and this has water that has the same salinity as my main tank. And you will notice here I have a gate valve that's currently open and a pump that will turn on when it's time to put that water into the tank to replenish. Up above that, I have my auto top-off system. This is actually fed through a separate channel through the crawl space, so you can see here, and it tops off the water in my aquarium so that my salinity in my aquarium stays the same, and I don't have to do it every day, and especially very convenient considering that I travel basically nonstop for work, and so this system will run on its own. So the only component of the system that won't run on its own is the addition of salt, because I have auto top off and solenoids for both of the tanks to fill them with water. What I do is, if I've run a water change and therefore reduce the volume in this tank, I turn off the solenoid to this so that it does not add fresh RO water, and that way for the rest of the next couple of changes I can keep the same salinity, and I'll perhaps add a little water because of the evaporation. However, if I kept adding water, then 5 gallons of water without salt would drop the salinity in this tank greatly. And you just heard that noise. That was the pump. So the main tank has gotten to a point where it's filling now with salt water. So we will walk back. And as you can see, the water flow is much faster now. And that's because we're adding, for that pump, is adding salt water to the aquarium via the chiller line. So the salt water will run for 1 minute and 45 seconds, and then it will turn off. And very shortly thereafter, the protein skimmer will turn back on. You can see the water filling up. It may go a little bit above my skimmer offline, but it'll be pretty close. And the salt water, as you can tell, this is slowed down. So now it's right on my skimmer offline, and soon my skimmer will turn back on and the tank will be back in equilibrium. One thing you'll notice is the delay for the protein skimmer to turn back on is because I don't want my pumps for my skimmers or my main tank to get into a mode where they're switching on and off. So if I have code written so that one of these is turned off, I have added an extra line of code telling it that if it's off, to remain off for a certain period of time. As you can hear, now that that time has elapsed and it is safe for the skimmer to turn back on, the skimmer is now turned back on and is filling with water. And you will notice that my water level in the return section is dropping. And there we have a fully complete, fully automated water change. Each time I do this, it changes 5 gallons of water. And so I can program it several times during the week. I have a 100-gallon main tank and a 50-gallon refugium. So the 50 gallons not completely full, so we'll just say 140 gallons of water. And if I do this 2 to 3 times a week, I'm basically changing 10% of my water automatically. And then I just add more salt to my salt holding tank, allow the solenoid to turn back on and fill that back up, and I'm ready to go again.